Do you have eco-anxiety? Do you know someone who has eco-anxiety? A lot of us, whether we are very anxious or a little bit anxious, many of us are concerned about the fate of the planet, and that can affect our mental health. So I found a second book. Well, a few videos ago, I made a video about Ellen Kelsey's book called Hope Matters, and that's a phenomenal read on helping that calmed my nerves so much about anxiety. Not that I had much like real anxiety, but it lingers in the back of your head, like what's going to happen with the fate of the world and what's going to happen to the planet. It's huge news, and when the IPCC came out with that 2030 start of the global ecosystem collapsing, uh, that's that's huge. That was 2018, 2019 when that came out, and then COVID hit, and that has kind of distracted us from it. And I think for me, I may have been in a not a state of shock, maybe a bit of shock, maybe a bit of not denial, but just wow, like 2030, like there's an actual date for this. Al Gore with his 2006 movie An Inconvenient Truth, that was really starting to alert us to what was going on. Although people had been talking about the environment for years before that, and this 2030 date, it may be that's not set in stone. It could be earlier, it could be later than that. And the other thing to know is that they predict the global ecosystem collapses, if they do happen, wouldn't happen all at once. They would happen over a number of years. And the best I can find on how many years that might take, it might take between 2030 and 2050. So, but I don't want to be the bearer of bad news right here. I want to make people think positively about this because, like in my last, well, I don't know if it was in the video or if I made a post about it. It was a post on Facebook. I was saying that we should start to visualize our success in doing this. Olympic athletes, they use visualization they visualize themselves over and over, an hour a day for years, winning performance, their winning match, their winning meet. They visualize their body. They go into a room that's dark. They close their eyes and they just envision their body going through all these movements again and again and again. They envision winning the Olympic gold medal, the feeling of the weight on their chest, what the room looks like, what it smells like, everything. They go big into visualization. And Navy SEALs, elite soldiers, they use meditation, visualization to do similar things to achieve their goal, to give them a higher likelihood that they will achieve their goal. And I'm thinking, can we be doing this with the environment? So many of us, it was either Ellen Kelsey's book or this new book I'm about to talk about, Katharine Hayhoe, Hayhoe. Her book is called Saving Us. And these two books are my top two books that I've found so far for relieving anxiety if you've got equal anxiety. And so what Catherine says is that many people, it's either Catherine or Ellen in her book, Hope Matters, they said that many people can't visualize a positive future for us. We mostly think about the apocalyptic scenarios of the planet. And so what I'm trying to do is encourage you to have a picture in your head of what our future could look like positively, us doing it, us being successful. And by 2030, we'll have said, we've decreased carbon emissions drastically. We did it. We have solar farms and wind turbines up in countries all over the world generating our own electricity. We've done it. We took large, massive action. Katharine Hayhoe says that this is a huge piece of advice. She said that many people think that the environment, saving the planet, is something we have to do in the future. It'll take massive action, and we haven't started yet. We need to get going on this. We need to get going. And she says the good news is that she says people think it's like a boulder at the bottom of a hill, and we have to roll it up to the top of the hill so that it will roll downhill, and we can save the planet. She says that boulder is already up at the top of the hill. It's actually down the hill. It's rolling downhill with hundreds of millions, if not billions of hands pushing it down the hill. We've been working on this for years. We have millions of people working on this, millions of organizations working on the environment and climate change. And she says that boulder rolling down the hill, though, has to go about 10 times faster. She doesn't say where she gets that 10 times number, but I don't know if that's set in stone or if that's just rough. I don't know where she gets that. But that made me feel a lot better. All these things working, all these people, organizations working in the background to help save the environment. We've done a lot of legwork to get as far as we are right now. And I'm thinking that we've kind of left it to the last minute. My environmental clock started ticking this February 2021. Women talk about their biological clock ticking uh, when they're wanting to have kids, and I call it my environmental clock. I'm thinking, okay, it was always people are always saying we've got time, we've got time, we've got time, we've got time to save the environment. If we act now, we should act now, but we've got time. It's not too late, and I'm I'm thinking that I'm thinking we need to start going on this now, like start taking large action. And the good news is that, well, Katharine Hayhoe says that she's got a TED Talk out, and she says that one of the biggest things you can do to help the environment beyond recycling, driving an electric vehicle, not flying, all these actions you can take. The biggest number one thing you can do is to talk about climate change, about the environment. And you'd say, well, I talk about climate change all the time, and it's all over the news. Environment is huge. It's the number one topic in the world. And she says, I know we are talking about it, but we need to be having more in-depth conversations with the people around us, our friends, our family, strangers, coworkers. It's, she says that is the number one thing we can do. A man in a borough of London, England, saw her TED Talk, and he started talking to people and having conversations about it more in depth. And he met her at one of her talks later. He approached her and said, Hi, Catherine. I've been talking to people. I've actually made a list of all the people I've had conversations with. Would you like to see it? And she said, Sure. She thought that he might have 70 to 80 names on the list, something like that. He had 10,000. When she wrote the book, she contacted him again. He had 12,000. And that borough of London, it actually went on to making great strides in getting its community more environmentally conscious and more environmentally sustainable. Another guy in Victoria, BC, he was a runner and he started having conversations because of Catherine out when on his runs. And he said his question he would approach people, just random strangers, and he would say, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put climate change, with 1 being not a threat at all and 10 being the biggest threat of all time? And many people gave an 8. Some people didn't want to talk to him and just sort of gave a brief answer and then left. But many people stood and talked to him for long periods of time about the environment, their thoughts, their worries, their concerns, what we can do, what we should do. And that's Catherine says that's the biggest thing we can do. And people say, well, who am I to talk about the environment? This is what Catherine says. People tell her, who am I? I'm not an environmental expert or anything. She says, you are the perfect person to talk about the environment with your friends and people in your community. You are the perfect person. Your beliefs, your thoughts matter. Jane Goodall, the environmental advocate, she has a podcast it's in its second season. It's called the Hopecast, and she recently said in one of her interviews, she said that she likens the nature as part of a tapestry. She says insects, all these animals in the world, they do a very small part for their part of the environment, very small. Ants, they don't have a huge impact on the global situation, the globe as a whole. But she says they all are important. Every single one of them plays an important role. People play an important role. And she says it's like a tapestry, a fine tapestry with all these threads, with thousands and thousands of threads on it, and it makes this beautiful picture. She says you start taking out a thread, it's not good. It doesn't look as good. There's threads missing. And you take out enough threads, some of the threads can actually have a ripple effect too. They can cause other threads to fall out. She says, if all these people who are apathetic, that's one of the things that Ellen and Catherine talk about in their books, is how people feel stymied by the environment. They think I'm just so small. Like how can I possibly do anything to save the planet? And she says, taking the Jane says this, Ellen says this, Catherine says this, taking action. When you take action, you feel less hopeless. It gives yourself hope. Action gives you hope. Take an action. It may not make you feel hopeful right away. Keep going. Take another action. Do another action. Do another action. You'll become more hopeful. You can teach this in dogs, learned helplessness. If you can train a dog so that even though there'll be objects in the room that it can do things to do whatever action it has to take, it will have been trained to think that it can't do anything, so it'll just sit there. And people are the same way. All these news, there's so much negativity, so many negative stories about the environment and climate change. And at the end of the story in the news or whatever, they don't give any actions we can do. They say, watch what you take in. Start reading good news things about the environment. You need to watch more of those, because they say not just with the environment but any topic. You give people enough negativity about a topic, they will become apathetic. We need to be we need to watch what we take in, and when you listen to a news story, try to think about how negative it is and whether there are any actions at the end of the story that we can take to show positivity. So that's there are lots of good things that are going on with the environment. Lots of good things. So many good things. They have found a cruise ship. Well, they've made a cruise ship that's electric. It's totally carbon neutral, going up and down the coast of Norway. And container ships, another big one. They working on making those electric. They've already done a cruise ship electric, or I don't know if it's electric. It's carbon neutral anyway. With container ships, they're planning on putting sails on them. Sails can reduce fossil fuels by a lot, 20% or more. Planes, they're working on making biodiesel or biofuel planes. They say 30% of global air traffic are short-range flights, like under sort of around 1,000 kilometers or so. And they've made a plane that can fit, I think, 9 people, and it's electric. And they're working on making that for the short-haul flights. New England has actually signed up to have those planes made for their fleet. So there's hope in that with flying. Many people are taking no flight pledges, saying I'm just not going to fly at all for the rest of my life, or I'll fly reduced. I'll reduce my flights. And with solar is huge. Solar is now cheaper than fossil fuels, and wind, I believe, is probably following suit too. BP, British Petroleum, changed its name to BP. It says it's not an oil and gas company anymore. It's an energy company. And if you look at the promotional material, they'll have solar and algae powered things. And and other oil and gas energy are following suit, calling themselves energy companies. I believe this is going to happen. I believe, yes, it will be more of a at the last minute attempt. I wish we'd taken action 10, 20, 30 years ago. It'll end up being a last ditch attempt, but I believe we're going to take that. I believe the planet will take that, make that attempt, because this will only grow in intensity. Over the next so many years, the environment will become more and more of a hot topic, and I think there'll be more public pressure for governments to take change, to take massive action and get up to that 10 times amount that Catherine talks about, of getting the boulder rolling downhill more. And governments all over the world, they've got climate change on their agendas. They've been taking actions already. So I believe they'll be well well set up to take this massive action and get things under control. That's what I believe. Those two books, if you're going to read any of them, Katharine Hayhoe, Saving Us, and Ellen Kelsey, Hope Matters. Those have been great for my worries about the planet. If you've got more severe eco anxiety, you might want to talk to a professional. I know that psychologists are talking more and more about eco anxiety with their patients. Not all of them are set up or have the background to do that professionally, but keep trying, keep having conversations with people. Try to get help for yourself the best you can. It's I believe we're going to do this, and like I said at the beginning, visualization. Try to visualize ourselves saving the planet. We can be like the Olympic athletes and elite soldiers, visualizing ourselves doing this. We got this.